Get in there, I want to just give a brief background about the ImmiGreat Life and then the ImmiGreat Mindset. That's this conference, which is a 3-day paradigm shift. So the fun fact is my friend Isada, she was the one that when I was describing to her what I wanted, she said, oh, okay, you're talking about a paradigm shift. So I said, okay. Yeah, I'm actually talking about a paradigm shift because something hit me. And that's partly why Rasheed had to be here today. It was that if this change, this improvement, this greatness that we want to see in the immigrant community, especially in the African immigrant community, if we're going to see it, it's going to have to start in here first. We can talk all we want. We can say, oh, we should do better. Other communities do better. We can say that all we want. But until in the mind, we start to see the reason for change. And we actually acknowledge that people who have done the work and are now doing better, we actually acknowledge that they're not weak, they're not silly, they're not trying to be white, they're not trying to be posh. They're just trying, or they're just working at greatness. They just see the need, for greatness. If you're here, if you're alive, you might as well be great. That's the whole point of the ImmiGreat Life. So I'm going to introduce Rasheed, and then he will go into his talk. Rasheed is a licensed mental health professional with years of experience providing direct behavioral health services. He's also a Nigerian American who recognizes and can identify with the nuanced experience of being a first-generation immigrant. He's a dedicated bicultural millennial therapist with a passion for serving his community. He loves being able to educate and inspire fellow immigrants on the importance of mental health and wellness. He believes that mental health is an important part of our overall wellness. Being mentally healthy allows us to thrive in all other aspects of our lives. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today at the ImmiGreat Mindset. I present to you Rasheed Ojerinde.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for that intro. That was beautiful. Hello, everyone. Like she said, my name is Rasheed Ojerinde. I am a licensed mental health professional. Specifically, I'm licensed as a mental health counselor. I'm also licensed as a marriage and family therapist and a national certified counselor. So, plenty. Today, I'm going to be speaking with you guys about generational wellness. And this is something that I'm particularly passionate about because I do feel it's something that's very important to every community, but more so, especially with our immigrant community. As a mental health person, I'm more likely to focus on the mental health, but I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to try to keep it very, I'm going to try to include all of the various aspects of wellness. So before I get into my talk, I would love to draw a parallel between something that I think is very similar to what we're getting ready to talk about, which is generational wellness. So, generational wealth is kind of where I want to start things off, and then I'm going to go into why we're here. But generational wealth is something that has kind of became a buzzword in the past few years, and I noticed that it's something that we're all coming to better understand. And I know for myself, it's something that I've come to understand much better in the past few years, especially since 2020. I really learned a lot about generational wealth and, just how it can really help set up the future generations for security. We know the power of financial security and how it can help support families and generations to come. And we've heard about, at least for me, I've heard about how this is something that some other race have been doing for years and years and years. Like, this is something that has always been there, and so it just wasn't something that I was conscious of. But in the past few years, like I said, I've really educated myself on it, and that has allowed me to improve my financial literacy and to also improve the financial choices that I am making now, because I understand how they can impact the future generation. So the reason why I'm bringing that in is because I feel like this is something that we're all a little bit more familiar with. Everybody is kind of, if you haven't heard about generational wealth, I don't know what y'all been doing. Y'all been sleeping. So that's really why I'm bringing that in. But much like generational wealth, generational wellness is essentially doing the same thing. It's essentially looking at how we can support the future generations by looking at the choices and the decisions that we're making now, the ways in which we're leading our lives now, and making sure that we're doing it in the best of ways, and developing healthy habits that will really allow us to be able to pass on the best versions of ourselves to our children. And so that's why we're here, ladies and gentlemen. You guys are going to see me look down a couple times. Listen, I got notes for y'all. So I got stuff written down. So I want to make sure that I'm really hitting all the key points for you guys. So, yeah, like I said, generational wellness is something it's super important. It's about looking at our choices and looking at the behaviors that we're making now, so that we can be able to, again, relay the best version of ourselves, or pass on the better versions of ourselves to our children. Generational wellness refers to the ways in which our family history affects our wellness. So when we're talking about generational wellness, again, it's just talking about what sort of history are you passing on to your children. And what a lot of us don't know, which I'll eventually get to, is there are hormones. We all know about DNAs, but there are things that we can actually pass down to our children through DNA. And one of those things can be, again, stress hormones and other things like that. And a lot of us, we feel like, well, I'm perfectly healthy. I'm a bouncing baby boy. Like, I can't, but the truth of the matter is, there's a lot of things that we can still pass on, even though you may seem like you're in a healthy place. So we'll get into that. So when I am talking about wellness, I'm specifically speaking to physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual wellness. All four of those aspects are things that we really should focus on when we're talking about overall well-being. We want to make sure that we're addressing all of those areas of our lives when we talk about being well. Specifically, I will be speaking to ways in which our wellness affects future members of our generations, and in a way that we can start looking at ourselves, to really make sure that we're setting ourselves up to make better choices. Because when we can make better choices about the things that we are doing now, we will certainly have a positive impact on the future. I feel like this is especially important because I do believe that, we need to we need to lead by example by doing things that honestly we would be proud to see our children do, or things that we will be happy to see our children leading our lives in the way that we would be proud to see our children leading their lives. And we also need to do it for ourselves, because again, even if you're not doing it for your children, you need to ensure that you're doing it for yourself right here, right now, because you only have one life to live. So you may as well do your best to do it right as well. Our well-being can generally be achieved by looking at, there's a few categories that we generally look at when we talk in the mental health space. We usually talk about your professional life, we talk about your personal life, we talk about your social life, and we talk about your spiritual life. Again, there's something about the four numbers. So again, I'm gonna go over that again. So generally in mental health, when we want to look at just how emotionally and mentally, if you're a well individual, we usually check for four aspects. We usually check for your social, your personal life, your professional life, and your spiritual life. And if you are experiencing difficulties, significant difficulties in any of those areas, typically that's when we would normally say, okay, this person, they're not too balanced like that. Something's wrong. So that's when we start. That's when we start looking at the DSM, and we really try to figure out, okay, what is wrong, or what is going wrong in this individual's life. So not particularly what is wrong with you, but what is going wrong in what areas of your life. So those are the four areas that we generally look at. And so again, those are the general areas that I'm going to be sticking to. When we talk about wellness, like there are a few things that you generally would see when you look at someone and you want to be able to tell if they're well, or if someone is leading a life that they feel is making them happy. I'm not sure how the best way to kind of put it, but the person will generally have a sense of purpose. They're usually leading a life that provides some sense of purpose. You'll notice that they usually feel connected with their community, meaning they have a strong support system. You'll notice that the person generally has financial freedom. That's another important thing to being able to live well. So that's another thing that you'll notice. You'll notice that the person generally feels safe and secure within their community. They don't have to worry about, and this is more like environmental factors, I think is a better way of kind of summing it up. But you want to feel safe and secure within your community. You know, when you're going home, are you worried about being shot at, or you worried about somebody being a victim of some sort of crime, or some sort of just being a victim of any sort, sexual assault, especially for women. I know that's a very common thing. So you want to check for that. And then the last thing that you'll generally notice is that the person would feel they would actually be in physical wellness, like their health is actually good, like good heart rate. They wouldn't have any diabetes, cancer, any of those sickly things that would be more kind of obvious. So again, I'm going to go over those 5 areas again that you would generally look at that will let you know that someone is well, like they're actually living a life that they're happy and everything seems to be bubbly. So you want to notice if they have a sense of purpose. So this is for everyone that's generally wondering, like, am I living well? You want to make sure that you kind of track these things. Like, do you feel a sense of purpose and a sense of achievement with the life that you're leading? Do you feel connected to your community? Do you feel loved? Do you love other people? And do you give and receive love? Another thing that you want to look at is whether or not you feel that you have financial security. Are you always stressed about finances? Are you always worried about finances? Or do you feel like you feel pretty good and, you know, you might not be the richest, but, you know, you're not crying about, you know, when where your light bill is going to come from. You're not worried about your bills. Those are generally a good sign. Another thing that you want to see is a sense of safety and a sense of security. You usually want to make sure that you're not worried about anything. Like I said, being a victim of a crime of any sort, of any form of abuse, relationship abuse, you know, do you feel safe and do you feel secure? And then the last thing you want to notice is, do you feel like you have good health? Like, is your back paining you, but you're not saying anything? And I feel like this is especially common with the immigrant population, where we are so resilient and we're raised to be so resilient that, like, even with some of the other stuff, it's kind of like, but with the physical health one, it's like we will ignore it. I have the black man blood in me. I can't. But it's like we pride ourselves on being resilient, and it's like, if you're not feeling healthy physically, please, you know, make sure you go and get the help that you need to. Go and get checked out. Don't ignore any physical symptoms that you may be having. These are usually like huge red flags. And early detection, the best prevention is better than cure. And so those are the 5 areas that you generally want to look at. And again, speaking to the immigrant population specifically, I know one of the things that we sort of struggle with is we're usually like, oh, again, if I'm in good physical health, then I'm good. I don't really need much else. You know, my children will be fine, right? You know, but that's not always the case. And a lot of times we're not aware of how, like I said, there's a lot of areas that we are looking at in overall wellness. We are looking at physical, we're looking at mental and emotional, and we're looking at spiritual. So what people often in the immigrant community will often ignore is the mental and emotional part. We usually ignore even the spiritual sometimes, but you know, a lot of immigrants can also be very religious depending on where they originate from. But those are some of the major things that we have to pay attention to. We cannot ignore these areas because these areas are also extremely important. And so we have to learn to pay attention to them. And I'm going to go over some data really quickly because I think, again, it's easy to overlook a lot of these things. Health is something that can be inherited. And I don't think we know and we understand that enough. But your health, your wellness is something that can actually be passed down. And research shows that as much as 25% of the variation in human life and like how we live our life is actually determined by genetics. And a lot of people are not aware of that. Specifically for my women, if you're in the audience, you know, I want you to pay specific attention to, you know, the next set of data that I'm getting ready to read out from research. So with the women, especially because you guys, you know, obviously you guys are the one carrying the babies, and research shows that maternal well-being, meaning physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being before, during, and after pregnancy has substantial long-term health effects on the babies. Long-term, meaning, you know, from the day you born them to when they are 25, 30, 40, like it really does have a huge effect. Children born to mothers with high levels of stress hormones during the pregnancy are more likely to become addicted to nicotine as adults. Another one, children born to mothers who smoke have a higher rate of obesity and poor cardiovascular health. much later on in their lives. Another one, pregnant women who struggle with mental illnesses that they're ignoring. For us, again, in the immigrant community, I feel like that's something that we largely ignore, like depression, constant anxiety, schizophrenia, and all these other things that we may write off. There is a higher chance of having a low birth weight and also having complication with the birthing process. And this is something that we often will ignore. But we cannot ignore these things, and we really should seek the help that we need, because these things can be things that we can pass on to the future generation. And I know none of us want to be we don't want to be the one kind of hurting our own, the next generation. We want to make sure that we are in our tip-top shape, in our best shape, and we're providing the best that we can. I think every parent kind of pride themselves on being able to provide the best for their children. And so sometimes you being at your best is going to automatically lead to, it's putting you at an advantage to being able to provide the best to your children. So it's extremely important that we don't ignore a lot of these things. Now, there's a lot of other mental health things that I could get into that we largely do ignore. Again, depression being one of them, anxiety being one of them. Anxiety is one of the most common disorder. I think generally overall, anxiety is huge, and there's different disorders within the anxiety umbrella. Under the anxiety umbrella, you have acute anxiety, you have general anxiety, you have phobias, you have social anxiety, you have foreign language anxiety, which was something that I did a video about, and I don't think a lot of people are aware of it, but there is such a thing as foreign language anxiety. And I have actually seen it in fellow immigrants, where it's when they immigrate into the US or any other country and they have to speak a foreign language, they get so nervous and so jittery just trying to speak in any public forum or any public space. And that's something that it can get so bad to where they're actually physically and visibly shaken. And it's yo, calm down and relax. But they can't. Other people around them are not really sure what to do and how to help them. But a lot of times they don't get help because they just kind of act oh, it's no big deal now. And I actually have another one. Even my sister-in-law, I was telling her about oh, she was getting ready to do a presentation. This was just, I think, 2 weeks ago. And she was getting ready to do a presentation, and she was nervous. And I was explaining to her, you look kind of nervous. And she's like, no, I'm not nervous. So, and after her presentation, when it was very visible that she was kind of having, she was really nervous. I don't want to say nervous breakdown, but she was extremely nervous. I sat her down. I was like, so you don't think you're nervous, but you really did seem like you were nervous. And she thought that being nervous meant that you were having a breakdown, an attack, an anxiety attack or a panic attack, which there's a difference. You can be nervous, but not have a full-blown panic attack where you're needing, air and, you're suffocating. But she didn't understand that there's kind of levels to anxiety, and which level is kind of healthy and which level isn't. So I think there's a lot of room for educating ourselves on, is my level of anxiety really healthy, or is it going beyond what is considered healthy at this point? And so that's something that I don't feel like we do. Is my level of depression just normal, where it's oh, just go and talk to Pastor Debo, or go and do this one or whatever? Because a lot of times we don't realize when we've sort of crossed the threshold between what is considered a healthy dosage of something versus when we're crossing over into unhealthy habits. And so we're demonstrating and we're modeling these behaviors of how to manage ourselves to our children in the future and any other future generation that's to come. When they see how you manage things and how you compose and handle yourself, you're really setting an example for them to know how they should also handle and manage being in the same situation. And so again, you're modeling these behaviors to them, and you're modeling to them how to handle and manage being in similar situations if they ever get there. And if you don't make it okay, you don't make it seem like it is a healthy habit to seek help, they might not want to seek help. So those are just some examples. So going into like how there's like wellness is a lot, and I know I gave you guys a lot about like the breakdown of the different categories, talking about physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, talking about your social life, your personal life, your professional life, and your spiritual life. And then we also talked about having a sense of purpose. So all of these things, they're generally like they further break down the whole concept and the whole idea of wellness. But it is just for clarification purposes, just so we know what we are all talking about and that we're all using the same working definition. So again, you want to have a sense of purpose. You want to make sure that you feel connected to others, because we really are built for connections as human beings. You want to make sure that you have a sense of freedom financially, because let's be honest, financial stress is a very, very real thing. And financial anxiety is also a very real thing, especially as immigrants. When we immigrate into a new society, not yet. But when we immigrate into a new society, we often struggle with that process of trying to secure ourselves financially. But at any rate, so I'm going to go ahead and get into what are the things that you need to do to ensure your wellness. And I'm going to give you guys 3 categories of areas of your lives that you can attend to, and things, and under each category, I'm going to provide some very specific examples of what you can do to ensure that you are really doing your best in each of these areas. So I think that would be the last thing that I'll leave you guys with. And then I'm going to go ahead and open it up for questions. So the first thing you want to do is you want to attend to your physical health. It's extremely important, aka take care of your body. You want to attend to your physical health. Take care of your body. First thing you want to do is make sure you're eating healthy. Make sure that you're getting adequate sleep. Make sure that you're getting adequate exercises. Move your body. Be active. Another thing you want to do is you make sure that you get regular checkups with your doctors. That is extremely important. Like I mentioned earlier, early detection is it puts you at a huge advantage over being able to beat any health conditions that you may have developed. So, and then another thing is making sure that you learn about the history of your family, learning about any inherited medical conditions. We don't do that enough. We have to talk more about family health. What are conditions that are prevalent in your family? Hereditary conditions. And that can include depression as well. And then the second set of areas that you want to focus on is you want to attend to your mental health. And here's how you can attend to your mental health. You want to make sure that you learn to manage your thoughts. You want to make sure that you're learning healthy ways of coping with the stress. Let's be honest, life can be stressful. So you want to ensure that you're also attending to, you know, your stress. Like, how do I cope with stress? Learn ways to cope with stress. Learn ways to manage your thoughts. Another thing that you can do is learning how to deal with your feelings and your emotions. Life has ups and downs. You're going to have moments where you're going to be angry. How are you demonstrating to your children how to manage, anger? And how are you demonstrating to them how to handle disappointment? How are you, demonstrating to them how to manage failure? So these are all essential things that you want to make sure that you get really good at being able to do so that you can model it to them in the best way possible. And you also want to make sure that you keep healthy relationships. How do you treat other people in your community? How do you treat others in front of your children? How do you talk to people? Those are all things that are very essential. And you also want to make sure that you check for any hereditary conditions when it comes to mental health. So, and then the last tab. So the last tab is attending to your community. And this one, AKA stay connected. Listen, research has shown that people that are more connected and they have social support are more likely to have a healthier life than those people that do not have a support system. Attend to your children, play with your children, be a friend, listen to them. Don't just be the type of parent where you're sort of dictating to them. Pay attention to them. Listen to what they're telling you. Listen to, study your kids. Be their number one fan. Be present. Be engaged. Those things go a long way. They're part of your community. And then, last but not least, find and build you a community of other healthy people. Find, and if you can't find any, build it. A community of other healthy people. So that's all, guys. I hope those few things that will be helpful to you guys as you guys try to build your community and as you try to build up your own wellness and set great examples for your children and hopefully turn everything into greatness in your family. So that's it, guys. I'm gonna leave with that and open the floor for questions.
Thank you so much, Rasheed. Thank you, everyone that's on. So you know how we do it. The session has ended. We're going into speaker Q&A. Drop an emoji to describe how you're feeling right now. You're feeling bamboozled. Drop an emoji that says that you're like, wow, he just spoke about me. Drop that emoji too. And let's see what you guys are thinking. So I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to start with Q&A. What is that? Is she doing yoga? I'm not even sure what I'm seeing. That's so funny. Okay, so there's a question here, and it's what are the most mixed up feelings? And he gives an example. He says, for example, the way people mix up nervousness with anxiety. I think that's what he said.
Yeah.
Yes. So what are the most mixed up feelings that you see?
What are the most
in your line of work?
The most mixed ups that I see?
Yeah. Well, like people thinking they have something, but they actually have.
Oh man, there's a lot. Because generally with mental health, there's a lot of confusion and a lot of misconceptions. So some people are actually sad and they think they're depressed. I've seen a lot of that. I've seen a lot of people where they are going through a life change, like they're transitioning in life, but they feel like, oh my God, my life is ending. But it's okay. Like this is a process. Like you're adjusting, and it's okay. Like to feel confused, to feel like you don't understand what you're doing. There is a condition there, like there's a clause that kind of exclude when you're going through difficult life transitions. So that too is a real thing, and it's not necessarily depression. It's not that you are losing your mind. You're not. It's just that you're going through a transition. I've seen a lot of, oh, you're bipolar. You bipolar. I feel like that's such a common thing, but people don't know what true bipolar is. If I tell you guys what true bipolar is, it will shock you. Like, true bipolar is not about, oh, you're happy now and then like 2 hours later something made you happy, so now you're happy and smiling. Your boyfriend brings you, a meal. They order you some Chipotle and now you're happy. When you were just, crying an hour ago. That's not bipolar, guys. Bipolar is something way, much, much more intense and serious.
And deeper than that.
Again, okay. And much deeper than that, yeah.
There's a question that came in, and I just want us to touch it quickly. So someone says, his name is Henry. He said, he wants to go to the hospital. People want to go to the hospital, but then they know that some unscrupulous medical people will kind of tell you stuff that isn't true and just throw up ailments to get you to do tests or to get you to spend money. And how do you balance caring for your health and not being scammed by the health sector?
So I would say, generally, if they're telling you to get a scan for something, normally you would feel symptoms as well. If you're not having symptoms of anything, or you can get a second opinion, that's also another thing. Always try to get a second opinion as far as the medical field. As far as the mental health field, I don't really hear too many cases of that. If you feel like someone misdiagnosed you, again, you can always get a second opinion, and it never hurts to get a second opinion. So that's what I would say on that. And if someone is diagnosing you with something, usually they need to come with actual examples of your symptoms. And if you're, as a mental health person, I've seen a lot of people that have been misdiagnosed, but again, if you are with a counselor or a therapist and they're trying to tell you that you have such and such conditions, okay, tell them, okay, what are my symptoms? What makes you feel like I have this particular disorder, or I have this particular issue? Just like a doctor, if they're telling you, well, they need to get a scan here because they see this one thing, okay, show it to me on where do you see it? Okay, you too, show it to me too, so that me too I can see. Have them give you a copy of whatever it is that they see. You can go home, you can go and study it yourself, Google Leads, ask other people. You can do your own research. Yeah.
So get a second opinion.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so Nancy has a question. He said, as an immigrant, how do you break this cycle of depression and mental illness not being real? So in a case where you know that there's a problem, right? And I'm going to just add something to his question. You know that there's a problem, and that's because I got a question yesterday about this.
Yeah.
So the person said that she knows that there is some kind of mental illness in her family, that her grandfather is famous for his episodes. Her mom is famous for her episodes, that she is worried that she would at some point start to exhibit it, or her children will start to exhibit it. But nobody believes that it's
real.
It's mental illness. And I think it's kind of, it relates to what Ophelia is also saying, because he's like, everybody thinks it's not even real anyway. So how do you help yourself when nobody believes?
Listen, when it comes to your wellness, I'm sorry, but forget what anybody's saying. When it comes to your wellness, you cannot prioritize the opinions of others. You really have to make choices for you, because at the end of the day, you are the only one that has to live with the consequences. So if you feel and you see a pattern in a history of something in your family, please go ahead and make the choice to be proactive, as opposed to letting the opinion of people that do not have to deal with the consequences deter you. Just do what you need to do.
Sorry to cut you off, Rasheed, but do not have to face the consequences, and also do not have many alphabets after their name.
Legit. So yeah, like do not let other people's opinion deter you from you doing the things that you need to do to ensure your wellness. I think that is like the simplest way to put it.
Okay, so I have one other question, and it says, what advice would you give someone struggling to love themselves?
Ooh. So I am a firm believer in the fact that our reality is made and it's formed from the very thoughts that we allow to kind of preoccupy our mind. The thoughts that you entertain and that you have in your mind are the things that will shape your reality. So you have to start with your thoughts. You have to start by being mindful. Mindfulness is such a key thing. And I feel like a lot of people, they sleep on it, but learn to be mindful of the thoughts that are coming into your mind. Learn to separate the ones that are based on facts and logical reasons and the one that are just based on, I just feel like it. There's nothing to support it, but I just feel like it. Because oftentimes, a lot of the negative thoughts that we have are the ones that are being fueled by thoughts that are not grounded on reality of any sort or facts. They are simply things that we are composing in our mind because we know our deepest, darkest insecurities. We now compose thoughts and beliefs around those things. That you know your own weakness. We are our own worst and best friend. Like that's just what it is. So you compose these ideals and beliefs and thoughts about yourself, and you compose this narrative of yourself based on the fact that you understand the worst parts of yourself. But guess what? They're not always true. So when you can learn to identify thoughts that are not supporting you, they're not helping you to thrive, and you can separate them from the thoughts that are helping you. Or if you don't even have thoughts that are helping you, now you have to start generating those by countering those negative thoughts that you know are not true and are not based on facts. And when you can get a hold of your thoughts and you can start putting positive thoughts into your head, it will do wonders for how you can turn your life around. So get a hold of your thoughts, learn to manage your thoughts, learn to identify positive thoughts and separate them from negative.
So I know I said that was my final question, but one more came in, and this is the final one. I promise. Okay. And this one says, "How have you had a story when you had to go against religion? How did you convince this person?"
Where I've had to go against.
I guess I believe the person means, their religion is maybe they believe their religion tells them something different, or
okay. So like if you feel that you're in your personal beliefs is in conflict with the religious value that you're trying to live your life by, right?
Yeah, I believe so. If you posted the question and you think it's something different, let us know quickly so that we can.
Okay. So I think that's a really difficult situation to be in. I'm not gonna lie. I think because religion is such a big thing, and like honestly, even when if we're leading our lives and we don't feel like it is in alignment with our spiritual or religious values, oftentimes we don't have that sense of happiness. We don't really have that full sense of wellness. So I will say try to identify why you don't identify with that, like whatever makes you feel like this particular religious or spiritual belief I don't agree with. And if you can find within you have reasons to believe why this thing does not serve you and why it does not fit into the way that you want to live your life. Listen, religion, I feel, is something that your relationship with God is your relationship with God. Your relationship with God is more important than the institution that is telling you how to, do this or how to do that. That is my personal belief. And I feel like your relationship with God is something that you can always work on, and you can always try to find yourself, and you can always find God within you. And so try to make choices and decisions that you feel are right within you and God, and not necessarily what an institution is telling you. Because there are rules within religion that are more based on just the institution than it is the actual preaching in the book. So
thank you for saying that. And if you guys hear any noise in the background, my son is building stuff with building blocks. I can't get him to stop. So there are actually more questions in the chat, but I will find a way to get them across to you. Okay. So you can answer them. Hopefully, maybe you'll answer them in your stories, on your page. So guys, you can follow him on Instagram. His handle is @ProgressiveMigrants. I have it in the chat. If you just check in the chat, I posted it a few moments ago. I'll post it again. @ProgressiveMigrants. You can follow Rasheed, Ojerinde, ++++, alphabet. But thank you so much for coming on today. I believe that the way the panels work are so divinely orchestrated, because you just mentioned that, for parents, from when you're pregnant until your kids are like grown out of in college, the way you respond to things, the way you react to things are very important in the way they are formed, right? So there's a lot of responsibility there as a parent. That's how I feel. But I love the fact that you also said, do it for yourself. Yeah. Because I feel like sometimes we're used to hiding behind, I'm doing it for my children, and that like you are some sacrificial lamb.
Yes, right? That is very true.
Yeah. But if you're happy, if you're thriving, your children are also seeing you happy and thriving. And from what you're saying, they're learning from that too.
No, they are. Absolutely. You're modeling to your children every day, and even if you don't pass something down genetically, trust me, in the way that you're leading your life, if you're leading a life that your children can feel healthy and safe, and they feel very happy to be around you, you're doing a great job. Because generational wellness is also something that we need to be passing. It's not just money that we need to give them more. There are also things that are extremely important, just as important as money, that we need to pass down to our children. So, yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much for dropping that, Rasheed. Thank you. So I wish this could go longer. So if you are here, you're listening to us, please, if you gained one thing, just one, from this conversation that we had, I want you to just drop it in the chat, even if it's one word.
Yeah.
Just drop it in the chat if you gained anything from this. Okay. I'm seeing so many comments. Okay. Thank you guys for engaging. This is so nice. This has been so nice. Thank you, Rasheed. So our next panel is actually a mompreneur panel. Don't go up yet. Our next panel is actually a mompreneur panel. It will be moderated by IMMIMAIL. So we're going to give it just 3 minutes. By 8 o'clock we will start. Okay. My guests are here anyway, but it will not be moderated by me. Please, guys, if you're a man and you're on, please don't do that thing where you're like, oh, they said moms, we're leaving, bye. No, okay? It concerns you too. Please, I had to say that. All right, so let's give it a 3. Should we even give it a break? Because they're all here. Everyone is here. Okay, no breaks.
Let's go.
Everyone is here. Let's keep the party going.
Break.
All right, break. Tech support.
Please break.
Check it out.
BLDM, take a break.
Okay, let's take a break.
Okay.
Oh my God said take a break. So we'll take a break.
All right, guys.
I've missed you. Welcome. So I'm going to introduce these two wonderful women, and then I'm going to leave them in the hands of the very capable Onyemaloma. So thank you guys for holding on. You know, I banned the men from leaving this live. Please, you have to stay on. We need all of you to do this, right? And we want you guys to also know about, you know, what moms want you to know. Sometimes, you know, it takes an outsider telling you what they're thinking. Okay, so we're going to start with Dr. Temi. Dr. Temi Aregbesola Okere was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. She holds a Bachelor's of Science in Biology from Penn State Uni, a Master's of Public Health from the University of Medicine and Dentistry of New Jersey, now known as Rutgers, a doctorate degree from Walden. Her passion for servant leadership in her professional background spans over 15 years. She started her public health career as a health educator for underserved girls in the Bronx. This is where her love for health education and promotion blossomed and became more of a fixture in shaping her career. While traveling to Nigeria in 2008, she had an epiphany that was directly linked to her passion, and the Ireti Foundation was born. Since the inception of the Ireti Foundation, Dr. Temi has expanded into entrepreneurship, forming Dr. Temi LMFT. Her business houses her coveted online course for moms, which is called Live Your Best Life Mama, and the Omugwa Box, which is the first African-inspired gift box for new moms. Welcome, Dr. Temi.
Thank you for having me.
And then Igxtelle Mbah Acha, Esquire, is a renowned diversity and inclusion strategist. She's a thought leader with a background in international business law, packed with extensive experience in corporate compliance. She is the CEO of Bifi. I hope I pronounced that right. The visionary behind the Immigrant Mom, a nonprofit organization whose mission is to empower and educate immigrant mothers as they raise children in a foreign land. So let's welcome them all. Drop the applause emoji in the chat if you're watching. Let's give them some claps.
I'm glad to be here.
Yes, glad to be here. Glad to be a part.
Yeah, I see the hand emojis. Let's keep it coming. Okay. I'm out of here, but I'll be watching you guys.
All righty. Hello, everyone. My name is Elizabeth. Thank you so much, Dr. Temi and Igxtelle, for being here. We're so excited to have you both. And we will start the session.
All right.
Sure. So I've been able to kind of, break down the conversation tonight, the panel discussion tonight, into 3 different sections. So we're going to have a section on time management, a section on mental health, and then a section on finances. So just to cover, all bases. So we're going to start with time management. So my first question for you would be, how do you juggle your career and family life?
Very carefully. Because it is not easy. I'm not going to sit here and say that, oh, it's the easiest thing to do. All you have to do is get a planner and everything will be great. No, that's not the case. Having planners are nice. But I think, making sure that, unfortunately, this is a thing that, a lot of moms do that, sometimes I watch my husband all the time and it's that Y chromosome that just doesn't allow them to be able to do it. I swear, I think biologically, I think that's what it is. But we stay 10 steps ahead. So honestly, it's thinking ahead of the thing that's already ahead. And, I'm Greek. Shout out to all the Sigma Gamma Rhos. Today is our Founders Day. Something that I learned during my time in joining the sorority is that proper planning prevents piss poor performance. Piss poor performance provokes pain. This pain can be mental, it could be financial. When you properly plan, you're definitely gonna have things in place. So properly planning, making sure that you are talking to your partner, your spouse, whoever it is that that actually helps you to facilitate family life. Make sure that you are in clear communication with them so that you're all on the same page, because things will come up, you'll bump heads, things will, you'll double book. I walk around with, I have a Calendly link for work, and I have a Calendly link that's personal. When folks are like, yo, Temi, can I talk to you for a few minutes? I'm like, here's my Calendly link. Put yourself in a time that's open. That'll be the time I speak to you. Sometimes people seem offended, but it really does help me so that way I can be, I can give you my undivided attention, and I could be the best version of myself when it is that we do get together to do things. So just, really having clearly communicating with people that are helping you as you are planning, but that proper planning and staying a few steps ahead is always beneficial, and it's not always the easiest thing to do, which is why thinking ahead and clear communication with your partner, I think, is always key in trying to juggle, because it's hard. Right before I came here, I did two things. I made jollof rice. I made it for you, and I just gave my sons their dinner, and then I told them, "Shut it up. Mommy has a webinar." I put them with a movie, and they've got their dinner. That's gonna at least 45 minutes. I'm cool. Once I get past that, y'all might hear mommy. Y'all might hear, oh, he's kicking me or something like that, because that's just what they're gonna do. But again, planning. I planned this whole evening. The moment I was invited, I knew what this evening was gonna play out like, and this was weeks ago.
Right.
So it's just, proper planning and communication with your partner.
Nice.
Yeah, so for me, I would echo what Dr. Temi said. The way that I'm able to manage my career and the number of businesses that I run, being a mom of two small kids, they are 3 and 2, and then I have, my husband and my extended family. A lot of us from that side of Africa, our family's not just our children. So I'm also the first daughter in a family of 5 kids. So I'm also with my siblings and my parents and all of that. To me, what really helps me is prioritizing in everything that I do, with the hats that I wear: attorney, business, CEO, founder, anything you call. My priority is my family. My priority is my relationship with God. And once I know what my priorities are, I'm able to allocate that time without negotiation. There's never going to be a time that my child needs me. When I'm talking about, like, if I don't step in, something horrible could happen, and I will pick being in a meeting over spending that time with my children. Another thing is, I understand the different times. I understand that, they're at a stage where they could play with their toys and not miss mommy as much. Different from if they were a teenager or maybe a little older than they are and need me to be hands-on right now. So I'm just cognizant of the time that we're in. They're little kids. They can, I have a leave-in nanny. I'm leveraging that as well. But sometimes too, mommy guilt has something to do. I hope we can get into that topic later on today. With mommy guilt, I would, run away from, the work that I'm doing. Say I was working, and just so I could go see them, because I haven't seen them the whole day. Not to say that they missed me, because they're 3 and 2. They'll only call mommy if maybe they. But to answer the question, the short answer is my priorities help me manage between my career and my family. And everybody that knows me, my boss, my business partners, they know that when it comes to family, career is not, I'm not a career woman. I like to say that. People tend to think that I'm one, and I say I'm not. I'm a family woman. I will pick my family any day, anytime, over any promotion or anything else, because that's my priority.
Wow, thank you for that. Thank you. Wow. I guess we move on to our next question. This is still right in the, right under time management. Next question will be, how will you advise going about pursuing higher education or some sort of education to better sharpen your skills as a mom, as a new mom, as an already existing mom, as an expecting mom, just all under the umbrella of a mom?
I always tell my students that you should always be willing to learn, because no one knows everything. I definitely consider myself a lifelong learner. I told myself that after I got my doctor's degree, I was just like, no more anything. I'm not getting any more certificates, no more school, cancel Christmas. I'm not doing anything. But of course, because I am a glutton for punishment, I had just completed a diversity, equity, and inclusion certificate through the University of South Florida, just because I felt like, with my background in public health, we're talking, and of course, and I've worked with the LGBTQ population specifically for years, so I know the importance of making sure we're having those conversations. And I said, you know what? I didn't focus a lot on that during my doctoral work. Let me just go and get the certificate. My husband looked at me and was like, you're going, like, you're doing more learning, you're doing more school, like what's wrong with you? And I was just like, no, I have to constantly be learning. The world is constantly changing, you know, so making sure that you are in the know of the things that are important, especially when it's going to influence things that are going to either make or break how things are going to work out for yourself, your family, your children. All of it is important. Just really constantly keeping yourself in the learning stage. You know, you can master. Once you master something, don't be afraid to go and learn something else, because you could never know it all. So I'm constantly looking for ways to sharpen my skills, whether it be speaking, whether it be writing, whether it be how I'm managing my time, how I'm mothering. I love to hear different, you know, different inputs and insights around raising, you know, kids. I now have a toddler, and I guess he's a preteen. He's 7. So a 7 and a 3-year-old, or soon to be 4. So, you know, they're two very, very different people. So it's a constant learning process of how it is I can help them to be the best versions of themselves. So I have to constantly be learning. I cannot just sit and say, oh, well, I know all the things. I can't do everything that my parents did with me. And me too, Esquire. I am also the first of 5. And I know the struggle of being that firstborn. All, you know, there's a lot of pressure in, you know, coming and delivering, and that those same mentalities and attitudes have come into my life. How, you know, how I function, how I mother, how I behave in my workspace, how I behave in my business space. So everything that I learn feeds into it, and so it's just really important that, you know, we constantly keep our minds open to learning things. We don't know it all. We don't know it all. No one's perfect. Even the most perfect person on paper, on social media, everything. No one's perfect. No one knows it all, and there's always room for improvement in some way, shape, or form. So always be open to learning new things.
Right, and learning new things is uncomfortable. You know, having to be in a state where you have to learn something new, you have to stretch a little bit. That is uncomfortable, and I think this is the ImmiGreat Life. I believe most of us who are on here are immigrants. The mere fact that we are immigrants, right, has already put us in that position where our leverage is in knowledge. And without knowledge, you don't have leverage. And if you don't have leverage, you cannot bargain for what you need. So that requires us to always seek knowledge. And, you know, I had this humbling realization when I became a mom, which is also the reason why the Immigrant Mom organization started out, because I realized I could play around not wanting to know or learn new stuff for myself. But when you add a child into the mix, and this child's life is dependent on what you know, and that they could be totally screwed, excuse my French, for what you don't know, that meant that, you know, I'm always at the verge, always at this position where I'm saying there may be so much that I don't know. It is humbling. It is a position of vulnerability, but it takes just that, you know, I'm willing, I want to learn. Hey, somebody post a picture about something, maybe a school that, you know, their child is going to, and you're like, curiosity. Hey, what is that? I want to know more. That is from the motherhood side. So I would say, you know, we have to adapt that mentality of there's a lot that I don't know, right? And put ourselves in a position where we're willing to know. Now, from a career perspective, always think about it like there's more on the table. You're able to get out of your career just depending on the value that you bring. But if you improve on your value in terms of what you can offer to the company or your business, that's more revenue. I see people asking for more and not ready to give more. And I'm saying money follows value. Don't ever get it twisted. Believers, Christians, your prayer is important, but money will follow your value. So if you are asking for more, make sure you're putting in more. Could be certifications. I started out, believe it or not, as a lawyer in America, working at Walmart as an overnight stalker because I was still getting to the point where I had to show that I had a legal background, though not from America, for a company to take me in. They took me in, but still at a salary that I did not think I think I deserved more. I went in for another certification so I could show that I was an expert in third-party compliance. Then I got a better paying job. And then I started networking. So you see, it's always about your value proposition. How valuable am I? And how do I showcase from a career standpoint and from as being a mom? So we don't have a choice about it. If you are going to trade your ability to learn, you are trading your very life and the life of your kids. And I think that's important to state that.
Wow, what a word. Thank you so much for that. I'm just gonna give a quick recap of what I've learned so far. Just with time management. Dr. Temi talked about planning, you know, being able to prioritize, which is what Igxtelle really went into, you know, what is your priority? Is your family your priority? Is your career your priority? And also with education, never be afraid to sharpen your skills, right? Be okay with uncomfortability because it breeds for learning. And now, my favorite quote: money follows value. Very important. Thank you so much for that. That was wonderful. Now we're gonna go into the mental health section. Probably my favorite. So my first question is: how do you deal with stress and being overwhelmed as a mompreneur, as a professional, as a wife, the whole 9 yards? How do you deal with the stress?
Dealing with stress is it's a skill that I'm constantly learning to be better at because again, life evolves. So different things happen, different things change. But for me, um, I'm a very passionate person. I get very, very emotional. I like to just be in a space where I can meditate, where I can cry, where I can pray, where I can just be raw and open emotionally with myself and my higher being. And this can look like anything for anyone else, but I find that being able to have a space, a relegated space for me to go, and this is the place where I go to go check out, not the bathroom, because they will follow. The children will follow you. My husband will knock on the door and still have 10,000 questions, but it's a space that we all understand that you don't come down there to bother mommy when she's there. It's my space. If I come down and I need to get out heavy emotions and I have to yell, or if I have to scream, or if I have to just pray loudly, or if I want to meditate quietly, this is my space to do that. When mommy goes there and she locks the door, there will be no interruptions because you know that if you interrupt, there's going to be extra problems because this is mommy's time, this is mommy's space. So I am not, the way I try to deal with handling stress and being overwhelmed is taking inventory of everything that's around me that could be overwhelming me, get in my space, have my moment, because we're human. We need those moments. What causes people to just literally that there's a slither between sanity and insanity. I mean, I can share tons of stories of people that I have worked with in the past that somebody just did this and they blacked out and they hurt somebody, they hurt themselves because they did not have the skills to manage their emotions and what could come after not knowing how to deal with your feelings at that moment. So sometimes, people like to bottle things in, and then when it finally comes out, it's messy. So I'd rather get messy with myself. If I need to cry, if I need to, I always tell people I'm a Christian, but I cuss. If I have to, say some things and use some language, but I'm in my own space and I'm getting to get all of that out. It's not hurting me. It's not hurting anyone, but just having that space, having that time and that understanding. Again, having to communicate with folks around you too, when you are in a space with, sharing a space with everybody else, understanding that when I go here, this is what's happening. I need to be left alone. I need to meditate. I need to cry. I need to pray, whatever it is. And crying, I know a lot of folks, talk about, crying, oh, it shows weakness. Let me tell you, there is some strength in just really letting your emotions just pour out. For me, it's that and prayer. A lot. Prayer more than anything, because, I am faithful that God helps me through a lot of things, but prayer, meditation, and being honest with yourself and where you are emotionally, so that you are able to do the things that are necessary to handle that moment of stress or being overwhelmed. Really being cognizant of yourself. A lot of us don't know ourselves well enough. I'm going to be 39 in January, and I'm only maybe the last 2 years I'm realizing things about myself and the things that I need to be doing to take better care of my mental well-being. Because being a mompreneur, being a mother, being a wife, trying to establish businesses. I have a business, I have a nonprofit, I have a 9-to-5. It's a lot to try to manage. I think we have to almost be kind of borderline insane to want to try to do all of it. But there is a way. You have to figure that out for yourself, though. That's the thing. No one can really, because I went to therapy too at a certain point, and I got pointers, but I took some of it and then still kind of merged it with what I understood I could handle, because I know myself better than anyone. Know yourself. Be cognizant of your limits. Be cognizant of the things that, that might push you. Be aware of it so that you know how to handle dealing with it. Because if you're not aware yourself, that's the first thing that you have to do. You got to be aware. You have to know yourself mentally and emotionally, so that you now know what types of things you need to put in place to be able to handle stress when it comes. And it's not easy. It takes people sometimes a lifetime, years, to figure out. But the quicker you get to know yourself and be one with yourself and be cognizant of your behaviors and your feelings, the better.
Mm-hmm. Powerful. Thank you for sharing that, Dr. Temi. I actually, echo the same sentiments here about stress, because I feel like stress happens to everybody. I've had my own fair share. Actually, when the pandemic happened, I was super stressed 2020, and then had a mental shift that I'll talk about, that took me out of a lot of the stress that I was, going through then for 2021. And I recently had a Superwoman show on the Immigrant Mom show to talk about how, as moms, as women, we try to save the day for everybody. And then when you're trying to do that, you don't have those superpowers, you easily get burnt out. So for me personally, how I handled the stress that I talked about was by knowing that fear was at the back of a lot of it. Now, sometimes we don't realize it, but fear does play a huge part in driving us towards a lot of the things that we do. Sometimes we think that we're driven, we're ambitious. It's really just fear. The fear of failure, the fear of not being relevant, the fear of, not finishing, the fear of would I succeed, the fear of failure. And I was in this meeting where a lady started breaking down that a lot of people, a lot of high performing people that you see out there, CEOs, founders doing great things, this fear of failure is what is driving them, and they cannot sleep because they are afraid of what will happen if they're not on to the next big thing. Imagine never resting and just flying all through because of the fear of failure. And that was me. I was trying to be on every show. I was trying to do this. I was trying to rack up my numbers. I was, doing all these things. And then I just had to have that realization, hey, look, you have to enjoy the process. You have to enjoy being a mom. You have to enjoy the stage that you're in.
If that thing you are doing, no matter how, if it doesn't bring you a sense of joy, rethink about it. Maybe you really shouldn't be doing it. Maybe you are doing it from a place of fear, and that really is the root cause of the stress. For me, that's what it was, and that's how I handled it. Another example I can give you is I do have an auntie who lives with me, who's like my living nanny and helps me with my kids. But do you know that I made sure that every night, no matter how tired I was there to give the kids a bath? I was just being afraid that if I didn't do that, then I was not being a mom enough for them. When I was tired, I have two kids who are 11 months apart. I could have allowed her to do, give them a bath at night so I could rest. I had to let go of that fear, right? And eliminate the stress. Now, stress would happen, a stressful day, yeah, here and there. But if you find yourself continually, day in, day out, stressed up, it might be coming from the fact that you're pulled too thin. How long can you accommodate that, that stretch or being pulled like that? You have to remember that without you, your goals cannot be accomplished because you are the biggest part in that goal. And so there are certain things you would trade off for your mental health. I am very prone to depression, and I say this freely because my mind is very creative. I internalize a lot. So when I smell it a mile away, I know, okay, I'm focusing on something that's not right. My plate is too full. I've overcommitted. I need to say no. I need to tell this person I can't be here, I can't be there. I'm not going to be doing it. I'm not there. So I have to take, those all those things, setting boundaries, saying no, facing the fear are ways in which we protect our mental health. For some people, they can go to the spa. But what good is it going to the spa if your mind is running a 1,000 miles, in a second? You are just taking care of that physical body, but your mind is still as worked up. So for mental health, like I said, and like Dr. Temi illustrated, you have to know you. You've got to know you. You are no superwoman. Please don't let anybody tell you my mother was my mother did it all. No, you can't do it all. Please.
Right.
Draw the line and set the boundaries for your own sanity.
Where have you been all my life? You're about to be my new best friend. No, because you know what? We'll talk after. You're my new best.
Wow, that was yeah. My next question, which kind of we Igxtelle already touched on it. Just what advice do you have for helicopter parents or just parents in general, especially moms, and being a mompreneur? So the whole conversation about mom guilt, right? I have to commit to, for example, you're on a webinar right now and it is 8:31 p.m. It's almost bedtime, if it's not bedtime, right? How do you, manage the mom guilt and not overextend yourself?
That mom guilt, it's very, very real. And sometimes it likes to show itself, rear its ugly head at the most opportune times. Like it's just like, okay, you feel good. You're in your zone. I'm boxing up stuff. I'm placing orders. I'm sending out emails. And then I look at the time and you're absolutely right. It's almost bedtime. I'm working. Then you stop and you think to yourself, I'm going to be a terrible mom if I don't get up there and help my husband who has 2 hands and 2 feet just like me. But you feel bad that you're not doing the things that you're supposed to do as a mother. And to that, again, knowing your priorities, planning, knowing yourself, understanding, just like Esquire Acha has said, knowing yourself and knowing that without you, you're not going to meet that goal. So you literally at that moment, you have to self-talk. When I say my kids see me talk to myself all the time, like one day he said, "Mommy, who are you talking to?" I was like, myself. Self-talk all the time. And I have to literally talk myself out of feeling that way. And I tell myself, you know what? You have a partner. You call yourselves partners. Let him be a partner. Let him step in when you need him to step in. Don't feel like you have to fly off the handle like, oh my gosh, they're not going to be bathed correctly if you don't do it. They'll be fine. They'll be fine. You know what? You know what? They have another opportunity to get that dirt off if they don't get it all off today. Like I literally have to tell myself things like that, because if not, it will eat you up. And just like you said, my mind goes a mile a minute. When I say, you are absolutely right. I do sleep eventually, but I'll be up thinking about, okay, tomorrow I have to do this, this, this. Tonight I gotta make sure I do this, this, this. Oh, but wait a minute, I didn't do that thing. You know, sometimes I get up out of my sleep to do things. Like it'll be midnight, 1 o'clock, and I'm thinking. So I'm just like, oh, I didn't do that thing. Let me get up and do it right now. Just so I don't have to do it later. I had to start to talk myself out of doing that. And to any other mom that's experiencing mom guilt, I always say there's no point in us behaving as if it doesn't exist, or try to fight it or box it away. No, if it's there, let it stand there. I don't know if anybody I love to watch comedy shows, the show Big Mouth, where these kids have hormone monsters. For us, it's mom guilt. Mom guilt can come and stand next to you in the form of anything. Like sometimes it'll kick in and it'll make you feel lethargic. It'll make you feel, you might physically start to, feel things that you weren't feeling. And all it is an emotion that's making you feel that way. So I think it's important to, first of all, acknowledge it. It's like, oh, you're here, mom guilt? Okay, cool. You be there. I'm here. I'm not going to let you stress me. I'm not going to let you bother me. I know that this is what I need to get done. I know that I have done absolutely enough of what it is that I could humanly possibly do. And then now I'm just going to let the chips fall as they may. And so you really have to self-talk yourself into doing that. And again, it's difficult. It does take time. You hear that? Y'all hear mommy right now? I'm being called. Don't know why, but I know that they're showing up because they know that I'm here. But again, just giving yourself permission to feel all these things. Self-talk, let it pass. We waste a lot of time by wallowing in all these shortcomings of ourselves that we don't really take the time to see that you're dope. You're doing a lot. You are a great mom. You are a great businesswoman. You are great at everything that it is that you said you were going to do. Now go out there and do it. And don't sit and wallow in those guilty feelings and those feelings of, oh my gosh, I didn't do it. And yes, boundaries are hard. And I'm the first to say that this year I've been saying yes too much to people. Like, it's taking a lot of time and energy. Some things, like, I don't do it as wholeheartedly as I normally would, because I've just said yes, because that if you ask Temi, she's going to say yes. And then she does say yes. She'll execute, but then at what cost? So just really, really self-talking, acknowledge whatever these feelings are. A lot of times we try to sweep things under the rug a lot. And that's not the way to go. You have to acknowledge these feelings that are there. And then self-talk yourself into the straight and narrow. Like, love you, embrace you. Like, we're doing imposter syndrome too. I'm sure at some point like that'll come up. That's very real too. Like, you're thinking, I look at all the things that I do, and sometimes I'm like, girl, you ain't doing nothing. And then when I read some of the stuff on paper, I'm like, you do all of this? I mean, really. But just really acknowledging what those feelings are, not sweeping it under the rug, and allow yourself to feel it. If you have to feel it, but feel it and let it pass. That's just my thing. Take in whatever it is that you're gonna do, whatever feelings that you're feeling, however heavy they are, feel them and let them pass. Don't sit in them.
Right. And thinking about motherhood, right? This is the only thing in life where you put in your all, you don't take a break, and there are no awards anywhere for the best mom.
You barely get a day. You barely get a day in a year, Mother's Day, where, you know, if your child is old enough to write up something for you and give you a gift, you know, and then there's that sweet age where they say, Mommy, I love you. What I'm saying is motherhood is difficult. The sacrifices. I remember when I just had my baby, and I was just like, will this child ever know what I have had to endure for her? Because we do all of this and the little thank yous, little pats on the back, and that's the importance of community. And also for the men that are here with us, the importance for those that are married and who have, you know, wives that are moms, to tell them that you are doing a great job mothering our children, because this compliments help. This validation, this acknowledgement helps somewhat with the mommy guilt that we face. Another thing that helped me personally was talking to another mom. I called my cousin to the side and I said, do you feel these feelings? Because I feel a certain way when I leave the kids. And she was like, it will be fine. That way, how she said it, was what unlocked the new reality. Every stage is different. But since my cousin said that they'll be fine, it had just stuck in my head. I don't feel like, you know, because I'm here, I'm not being a great mom, because I know that they're fine. It's 45 minutes in a day. It's not 24 hours. It's just 45 minutes. For sure, they'll be fine. Another thing too that really helps is the Superwoman Syndrome. And, you know, mommy guilt is a sister to the Superwoman Syndrome. You have to recognize that for you to be a good mom, you have to be happy. Let me say this. I didn't exclusively breastfeed. By 3 months, I had weaned off my kids because my entire life I've had to deal with my weight. So I was conscious of my weight from when I got pregnant. So guess what? When the doctor told me that I could go back to exercising, I was on the treadmill. But because of the rigorous exercise I was doing, I wasn't able to breastfeed. But I had to say, of course, I might look like a monster to another person, but for me to be a good mom to these kids, formula won't kill them. They'll be just fine. And they are fine, right? Because I need to feel beautiful to be a good mom to them. I need to love the skin that I'm in. What good would it be if I'm depressed and still trying to mother them and passing on that negative energy to them? So mom guilt is a sister to the Superwoman Syndrome. Nip it at the butt. Talk to another mom. Find a community. Somebody else might just tell you something that would just put on that light bulb in your head and just dispel that guilt stage by stage as you go.
Wow. Thank you both so much. That was amazing. My last question under this, within the section is, this is the juicy one. It's, how do you manage your relationship with your partner, especially keeping things spicy and managing expectations?
Ooh. That's you know what? It's heavier than you think. The managing expectations part, that's a whole conversation by itself, I think. But keeping it interesting, keeping it spicy. I always say that I call my husband a prude. Like, I'm the one that I'm loud and bout it. So it's just like, you know what? Follow me, don't follow me. Like, listen, this is gonna happen, okay? So you know, just trying to, you know, I always try to inject humor into everything, but then also, again, communicating, talking about your needs, talking about your wants. We just had a staycation this past weekend. We just had a staycation in DC. We just went. We got a room at the Westin. We, you know, had dinner, drinks. We went shopping, party. We slept in, something that we are not able to do at home. You know, we just, you know, took everything in. And, you know, we said to ourselves that we got to make sure that we do this a little bit more. But really making sure, absolutely right, to someone that just posted something in the chat, making sure that that time apart from your kids, and like a lot of times I told my husband that most recently I like to spend maybe beginnings of my birthday by myself, to go to the spa, meditate, whatever, just celebrate my birthday, and then bring everybody else in. And so I would always tell him, yo, I need time away from these kids. Like, I am with them a lot, probably more than he is. And so really making sure that we also, have those boundaries, that yes, those times we might need alone time for ourselves, but we also will need that alone time with one another without the kids. Because like, really, when they're always there, we have to censor ourselves. We have to, do all sorts of stuff to make everything kid and family friendly. And sometimes mommy wants to be a thought. I'm sorry. Sometimes I do want to just, be
Right.
your girlfriend. I want to be, that girl that you dated. I can't do that in front of my kids. So really making sure that you are having those conversations and making that time, relating with one another on different levels, emotionally, spiritually, physically, making sure that, that not having have things that are specifically for the both of you. Your kids don't know what you're talking about. They're not even a part of it. They're not in the room. They're not incorporated into it when you're planning it. You have to remember that before you became parents, you were a couple. You were just husband and wife. You were with each other. You were learning, learning one another. And the thing is, we have to, again, we're constantly in learning stages, because we're always evolving. We went from being a new couple to being a couple that bought a home, to a couple that had a kid, to a couple that had another kid, so every stage is going to be different. Every stage, we have a different version of ourselves going into those stages. So we're always learning each other at those different stages. It's like you're constantly dating the person, because they're evolving all the time. When different things get introduced into your life, that's an evolution that takes place. I have to learn who this person is now, and I have to love on the person. I have to know what their needs are, what their wants are, what they think now, how they feel now, because it evolves. So you constantly are getting to know each other. There's going to be a new chapter, because I've already said it. 39 is going to come. I'm using all of that to walk into 40 as a, like, I want to walk into my fourth decade in life as a person who is healthier, a person who is smarter, a person who is this, a person who is that. I'm getting him ready already, because I'm just like, this person is going to need a little bit more time to be able to do these things. I might need a little bit of mom time to be able to work out, to be able to meditate, to go to therapy, to eat better, to prepare things better. I'm going to need his help with that. But then I've already told him that. I've already clearly communicated that to him. So when that time comes, he's going to learn what my needs are, what my wants are. We're going to teach each other. And in the process, we're going to be loving on each other and giving each other that time with one another to communicate on those different levels, that spiritual level, that emotional level, that physical level. So just leaving the time, understanding that every stage of life, we are different versions of ourselves, hopefully better versions of ourselves, but we're constantly learning each other. So leave that part, enjoy that part, enjoy the mystery of, the things that are to come, and doing this together, growing together, and being true partners, and making time for one another as you explore all these new developments and new things that you're learning about each other as you evolve.
Yeah, for me, communication is key. I think that's really the spice in my relationship, in my marriage. It's, there's really nothing extraordinary I can say here, because my husband and I are homebodies. We would stay home 31st to 31st and never really be bored of each other's company or feel like there's something out there that we need to do. But we communicate really well. And the expectation, I don't really feel like there is some kind of expectation I need to meet up to because we talk like friends. So again, it's really important for you to marry your friend because the difference is like night and day if you're marrying someone who is not your friend and just for their appearance. That's a topic for another day. But yeah. So yeah, it's really just the communication. Every, relationship is different. Find out what works for you. Remember, the child has come and is going to be with you for just a period of time, 18 years or more if you are so blessed. But the constant would be, that your partner, your husband. So, build the communication. One thing that I would say that I learned not too long ago is to grow in intimacy. I don't think that we think about it a lot, but intimacy grows. The same level with how you were intimate when you married him should not be the same 5, 10 years down the line. Give more of yourself, open up more about yourself. If you're not intentionally growing in intimacy, and I'm not talking about physical intimacy, just to be clear, I'm talking about intimacy across the board. There are some things that we deliberately keep our spouses out of our emotions, out of our vulnerability, out of the things that we're ashamed of. But if you are not letting him into those areas that you would not let anybody in, it's not growing. If it's not growing, it's dying, right? Just maybe at a rate that you don't see it. So I think that's what really keeps the spice, being intentional about your intimacy, about being one, being intentional about that friendship, being intentional about your communication.
Wow. This section has been amazing. I think you've both really touched on some really, really important, things that moms should know and like things that, they should invest in themselves. One of my favorite things that you both talked about is having your space, crying. I understand that so much. You also talk about taking inventory, prayer, meditation. These are all things that can help with stress. And Igxtelle, one of my favorite things that you talked about in this section was just understanding the difference. What is driving you? Is it fear, right? What really is the force, right? And just now you both talked about communication and intentional growth and intimacy. And I think those are really, really great points that you've made. And now we would move on to the last section for the night, which are finances, right? So my first question is, how do you raise a capital to start out a business, a foundation, anything of that sort, without, I guess, badly impacting the family finances or your personal savings?
So, as I said earlier, proper planning prevents piss poor performance. This is kind of one of those things. I know that when I decided to start the Omugwo box, it was an idea that I sat on for about a year. And I know that a speaker yesterday talked about not sitting on ideas. I did that. I sat on an idea for a year. And then literally God told me, get up and do it today. And I got up and I did it that very day. I bought a domain name. I listed out a whole bunch of vendors I was going to contact. I listed out people that could probably sponsor some things, and I knew that this X amount that I was going to spend was all I was going to spend out of pocket. This amount that I was going to spend was not going to affect us in any way, shape, or form. It wasn't going to put us back. I wasn't going to have to beg, borrow, or steal to make that money back up. I knew that that money was readily available. And I did it at a time that I actually wasn't even working. This is why I know that it was meant to be. Somehow the funds were there, and I did move forward with it. However, prior to that, I joined an organization called the People for Change Coalition. They're an organization in Prince George's County that works with business owners and nonprofits of color, providing them with resources, either grant resources, funding resources for businesses and nonprofits, ideas around fundraising, management, different resources to get you to just kind of different resources and networking to kind of get help at a nominal fee, or get, college students that are working on something specific. They have different programs where you can tap into somebody that can help you do accounting, things of that nature. But, belonging to such an organization was really helpful in getting me in the space mind-wise and management-wise to be able to do everything without breaking the bank. Like, I didn't break any bank at all. It was really good to be able to do that. Do your research. There are a lot of grants available for people who are just starting businesses. I am not going to lie. I wasn't as diligent with doing that. It takes a lot of time, energy, and patience to find these types of grants, and some of them are outwardly available. But then the application process, all that stuff. So they are available. So have those conversations with like-minded individuals. Join organizations that will put you in the right places, in front of the right people, and provide you with those resources to be able to raise capital and start out without impacting your pockets or your family's pockets. And again, just be open to learning different ways that you can raise capital, because there's a lot of different, I'm still learning all of those ways that you can raise capital. Right. But definitely planning, having a plan in place. Just know that, have that bucket of money that, okay, if I take this amount out of my account or savings, my family is going to be able to eat next week, or I'm going to be able to pay the bills next week. You have to, gotta properly plan. Like, this is money we're talking about. This is not, oh, I'm going for a walk down the street. This is something that can actually adversely affect your whole family if you don't do it correctly. And if you are not one of those people that has a strong financial background, or you don't manage money well, because managing money, it's not everybody's strong suit. Out of me and my husband, I do not put him in charge of money. It's just like, what? It's almost like I put my hand out, give me the check, give me the money. And, and he knows, I know exactly what to do with it. Of course, we talk about what this is going to be, but at the same time, not everybody's strong suit is managing money. Find someone, find an organization, find a company, find a business, find a partner, find a friend, find anybody that that you can talk to, that's going to put you in the best position to make the right decisions. Make sure that you have people around you and and things that are going to help you make informed decisions about how you want to raise capital. But just don't go into it with hope and a prayer. I mean, I know that, yes, I am a woman of faith, and yes, you can close your eyes and say, yes, this thing is going to happen because I believe in God. Believe me, I get that. But faith without work, we know the rest. Like, you have to do your part. Like, you can't just be like, all right, God, you got this. I'm just going to sit back and I'm not going to do any research. I'm not going to put in any work myself. I'm definitely not going to put in any money, but you got this, right? Okay, cool. That's probably not the way to go into it. You do want to have a plan. You do want to have something saved so that if you are going to add to it, you have capital to build off of. So that's, and again, I'm still learning. I'm still very new in all of this. So I'm always open to learning more and talking to all the people. Like, I don't care. Like, I will talk to you. Can you give me advice? I will talk to you. So, but yes, be open, be open to learning how to do more things, but properly plan. I can't stress that enough. Like, you gotta plan. You gotta plan for this stuff.
Yeah, so I would say, don't be afraid to start small.
Don't be afraid to start small. Rome was not built in a day. There's this lady from Nigeria who tells her story about how she started selling moi moi. And that story has been told on several platforms. I wish there was a link that we could share so everybody could listen to her story. She started with just, I think, selling one or two of those, and then it grew. The mistake a lot of people make getting into business is trying to start grand scale. You don't even have a client, yet you're looking for a modern brick. You are buying all this equipment. You are staffing almost like, you have a clientele of 50. No, you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Start small, because you starting small will help you to vet. Any idea looks good from the onset until you step into it and realize, oh, I thought it was good. It's not feasible, or the market is not ready, or maybe I can tweak it like this, or I can tweak it like that. When you start small, you're able to eliminate all these areas of waste that you could have gotten into if you just went full fledged. There's something about our community where we're plagued with what will people say? We're plagued with what other people think of us. So much so that we cut much more than we can chew. We bite more than we can chew and more than we can swallow. Start small. If passion is behind your business, start by serving just one person, vet the market idea, and then grow it to be bigger. My dad always told me, still tells me, that if money is the excuse for why you don't want to do something, you don't have enough passion for it, because money would also follow your passion. For where there is a will, there is a way. Where there is a will, there is a way. So, my advice on finances is this: you have to keep a roof over your head, you have to have food to eat. If you're dipping too far, you might be going running faster, putting the horse before the cart. Start small and just build it. And then, you'll be able to find other people that would tell you, oh, do you know there are SBA loans? Do you know you can be connected here? You can get money from here. That would happen naturally, organically, by you just interacting with different people in your field and building out.
Wow, absolutely. Thank you both so much. We're gonna skip the last question as we're running way past scheduled time. But I just want to say thank you so much, Dr. Temi. Thank you so much, Igxtelle. This has been a wonderful, just learning experience, taking it all in. I hope everyone as well has been able to learn and gain at least one thing. Thank you both so much. You are killing the game. Absolutely. We appreciate you. We thank you so much. Thank you for being here, and thank you for letting me be the moderator for tonight. All right, we're gonna transfer back to
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Thank you very, very much, Elizabeth. Wonderful job. Esquire Acha, we have to catch up. And Beato, thank you again so much for having me. It's always a good time, and I've missed you anyway, so I was glad to do this.
So please, guys, don't start leaving. I wanted to thank these ladies, and I want to thank you as well, Elizabeth, because you killed that. Thank you so much, Dr. Temi, Igxtelle, Esquire. Thank you so much. I know you guys are going to be doing a lot of things in the future. Just give me my 10%. That's all I'm saying. So for everyone who's watching, I want us all to know that tomorrow is a brand new day, day 3, right? We start off at 10 a.m. We're talking about financial freedom. So the theme of the first session is financial freedom possible for us? Because a lot of times, many immigrants, especially first generation, right, always feel like, let me just manage. If I can manage, I'll be okay. So is there something better than manage for us? And we're just going to have a financial advisor is going to come talk to us about 401k, understanding that even though they give you some advice, you need to check and see that it really is right for you, because there's advice always floating around, but it's really right for you. Then after that, we have Isada O. She's coming on to talk about branding your unique story. Many immigrants have a problem like sharing their stories. They don't really know how those stories fit. When they go on some popular person's site, they're not seeing stories like theirs. So they're trying to scrape off their stories to make it look generic. But meanwhile, in your story, there's something special that will help you sell your product, that will help you sell your whatever it is that you're doing. So she's coming on to talk about that at 11. So 10, financial freedom. Please, let's show up for that. 11, branding. 12 is a fireside chat with a woman that I admire, love so much, Dr. Temi. She's going to talk to us about healthy aging among with our parents. Somebody's asking for the Zoom link for tomorrow. Tech support, if you can respond to that. So 12 to 1, we have Dr. Temi. She's going to talk to us about taking care of our parents. Some of us, our parents are not even in the same country that we live in. We're worried about them half the time. Sometimes they're with us, but because we have to take care of children as well, we're putting them in charge of children. Sometimes we're not checking on them enough, right? But yet we're putting them under the stress of children. So please, let's show up for that session so we understand how dementia sets in, how to take care of them, and all of that good stuff. And by 1, which is our final session, we will be moving that to Instagram. It will be an Instagram live. I'll be talking to 3 immigrant influencers, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. We're going to talk about how we are represented as immigrants, and how anyone who has a podcast, who has YouTube, who has anything, how you behave, how you're seen actually rubs off on the rest of the community. Because some people say, well, I don't care about anybody else, it's just me, but it's a lie. It's a lie. People are going to look at Dr. Temi and say, oh, if that's how all immigrants are, I want to do business with them. People are going to look at Igxtelle XY, they're going to say, if that's how all immigrants are, I want to join their community. That's how it works. But whether we like it or not, however we present ourselves, it rubs off on the entire community. I know it sounds heavy, but it's the truth. So please, let's show up for all of these sessions the way we showed up today. Please drop a review. What did you think about tonight's sessions? Thank you, Rasheed. Thank you, ladies. I love you so much. I already see you guys yawning, so I'm going to let you go with the love of God. Yes, please drop those reviews in the comments. Drop those reviews in the chat. Okay, so good night, everyone. Thank you so much. Yes, yes. I really love it. I see comments about there's comments. Yes, I can great with a thumbs up. This lady shares so much. He left it for me. I'm going to get some to the other thing.